Hello, and welcome everyone to a special online event today featuring a spinal awareness practice to activate your back body and free yourself from tension and habituated contraction patterns. I'm Kaylee, your host here at the Shift Network and program manager for the upcoming Applied Somatic Healing certification. Brian Siddhartha Engel, our lead faculty, led our last workshop, and I'm really thrilled to bring you integration faculty, Maya Gayatri Andersson, co-founder of Living Somatics and master somatic movement educator, to lead us in today's workshop. We're very excited to be able to announce a powerful year-long certification with Brian and Maya that blends somatic movement with osteopathy, somatic meditation, and quantum biology to awaken your body's self-healing power that we'll share more about later in this event. Before we get to the workshop, I'd like to introduce Maya. Maya Gayatri Andersson Schrieffer is the co-founder of Living Somatics along with Brian, and a certified clinical HANA somatic educator, an equine HANA somatic educator, and a graduate of the Novato Institute for Somatic Research and Training. She is a board member of the International Somatic Movement Education and Therapy Association, ISMETA, and a registered master somatic movement educator. Together with Brian, she co-hosted the first 3 virtual somatic movement summits for the Shift Network. Welcome, Maya.
Thank you so much, Kaylee, and I'm so glad to be here with everybody for this experiential workshop today.
Thank you for being with us. And we have a full hour with Maya today. And before we get into the movement lesson, I do just want to share a little bit about this upcoming certification program. So then we will dive into the lesson and we'll leave some time for Q&A as well. This is a somatic training like no other. It's movement-based, it's holistic in nature, and it brings in tools for optimizing self-healing from quantum biology and circadian health and osteopathic philosophy layered on top of this basis of somatic movement. And Maya, would you share with us just a little bit briefly about how graduates from the training are using what they've learned in this program in their careers and in their practices?
Sure. I would be happy to. So over the many years that Brian and I have shared our work internationally, there are countless applications. There are too many to begin to name them individually, but as a sort of wider application, we can see that many students come to us because they either want to discover or build a new career for themselves. Maybe what they have been doing doesn't feel like it's resonating with their life calling, and so they're coming to develop their skill set as a somatic educator. We have others who already have a professional setup, like a massage therapist or a neurologist, a doctor, or a Pilates instructor, or a yoga trainer, or there are many different professions who then come to us because they want to have like the niche of the somatic awareness, the somatic application and component. Because many feel that the modality that they're working with is not effective enough on its own, that they really would appreciate the more subtler approach with somatic movement. So one example for the professional application would be, we have many students in this category, for example, massage therapists who feel like they've been doing their massage work for many, many years. They're loved and cherished for it, but their body's feeling it. It's sort of strenuous to them. So then when they come into this work, they can continue to more focus on how to educate their clients to create lasting change for themselves. That is not always dependent on them working on someone's body to create change. And then also, of course, the benefit of that is for them that they can work anywhere in the world. They don't always have to be in the same room as their clients. So the transition for many massage therapists working with us have been that they start to integrate some movements at the end of the massage session Like these are some self-care movements. And then over time, as they become more and more established in their new role as somatic educator, they start to transition their practice, either in the entire practice or part of it, into seeing clients in workshops or individually with living somatics. And also there are many that come because they feel like they want more for themselves in life. So this is not necessarily first the professional application that's guiding them to come and train with us, but it's that inner felt sense that I want to feel more like myself, or I want to feel more somatically awake. I want to feel, I want to have less pain in my body. I want to be able to manage anxiety. I want to feel just like I'm living a more empowered life. So for that category of students, they join the professional training and they solely focus on their own growth and their own embodiment. But the good news is that whatever the main reason is why you're interested in our work or to develop somatically, is that we always begin with a first person experience. We're always beginning with learning how to feel our body more, how to articulate what we're noticing, where we're refining our somatic abilities. And from that place of embodiment, we can then teach and guide others. So it's always a first person experience that then births forth the knowledge how to teach others and guide others. So the interesting thing is that many who come to us who first think, oh no, I would never teach lessons to others, so see clients individually. At the end of the program, they're like, it just happens because it's that joy of just they've received so much for themselves and they just can't help but share it with their surrounding. And many family and friends say, well, what have you done? You look different, you live differently. And then they just have that sort of, it's that natural progression of it, just the knowledge flowing on. But actually, we have one of our senior graduates and team members from Living Somatics with us, Karusha Wroblewski. I wonder, maybe you could share, because it's always more interesting to hear it from someone else, not from the one who's a training. So go ahead.
Absolutely. I'm delighted to be here and I'm delighted to share a little bit. I was a professional dancer, and as you can imagine, one accumulates a lot of injuries, which normally you think are just going to be marking you for the rest of your life. But as Maya was saying, coming to the Living Somatics training gave me so much incredible information that I could apply to even undo old injuries, to feel more comfortable in my body, and to actually feel more mobile and happy, even as I get older, which is great. And then in my profession as a yoga therapist, it's been such a natural flow to use this information. And one of the main places that my life has led me right now is to work with senior citizens. So I came earlier today from visiting at a seniors home where I work with people who have limited mobility. Some come in wheelchairs, some in walkers, but everybody can sit. And it is amazing to see how posture changes, how smiles come on faces, how people feel more joy. And of course, this work is so beautiful for improving balance, confidence, health, well-being. And in addition to my work with seniors, that's so gratifying, I've also been able to help people who are living with Parkinson's be able to straighten up, to lose the shuffling gait, to be able to walk with more confidence. And that's pretty amazing. And that's from following these simple, natural principles. And they also come easily to complement my other movement classes like yoga, asana, vinyasa classes, and Qigong. And if someone comes with a sore neck or a sore back, I have so many wonderful techniques that I've learned in Living Somatics that can be so easily applied to people of any age and ability that create real change. So this is a blessing, and you can tell I'm a fan, but this is very authentic for me. Glad to be here, and life-changing in a great way.
Thank you, Karusha. Yeah, and also what's exciting for me is, and why I've chosen to be part of this very program that is designed by Brian Siddhartha Engel for the Shift Network specifically, is because we have never offered this particular content before. This is actually uniquely created for this very program. So for everything that Karusha shared, and there will be even more, which is the nature of our work in the somatic movement discipline, is that there is an ever organic evolution. So for us individually, in our individual learning, I keep learning, Brian keeps learning. That is why we're now at this stage to be able to offer an even richer program. So I'm not going to spend too much time speaking about it more. Kaylee, is there anything else that you would like me to address around this?
No, that's beautiful. And thank you. And thank you, Karusha, for sharing as well. And you all will see Karusha come back as our model to demonstrate the movements for you when we get into the lesson. But before that, I would like to just share a few more details of the program with you. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat for you. You're welcome to follow along. And I'm also going to put up a visual so that if you process in that way, you can follow along with me here. So the year-long program begins on March 18th, 2025. So we're just about a month away. And the weekly sessions with Brian are going to be on Tuesdays. The integration sessions led by Maya will be on Thursdays. You'll have regular facilitated pod meetings to practice teaching with each other in a safe environment. There will be exclusive guest faculty workshops with experts in fields such as somatic movement and vibrational medicine that will complement your learning journey. The entire training program is $5,000 when paid in full. This is really a great value for such a comprehensive teacher training program. And if you prefer, we do have a couple of different payment plan options as well. And in addition, we have partial scholarships. Those require a separate application, but you will see all these details laid out for you at appliedsomatic.healing.com. And I'd also like to let you know about a $250 discount that we're offering if you register by March 4th. So that would bring your total to $4,750, which you'll also see on the page. And if you have further questions, I'd like to invite you to come join us for an informational session. These are free, and I will be there as well as one of our faculty, sometimes both of them. So these are really small groups. We have them limited. So it's a great opportunity to come and get all your questions answered. And the next one's coming up on Tuesday, February 25th at 8 a.m. Pacific. And we'd love to see you there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Can I add to that?
Of course, yes.
Yes, so I just wanted to say that also Brian is saying hello, and he and I will be at the Tuesday Q&A. So he wanted everybody to know that if you have any questions specifically for him about the structure of the program or the content, we would love to see you there for that session. There are other Q&A sessions if you're not able to make that one.
Yes, and then lastly, I'll just add, and then we'll go into the movement portion, is because of the rigor and intimacy of the program, we will be limiting the number of students in the program. So that way we can ensure personal attention and maximum impact. So if you decide you want to join this amazing opportunity, you'll first undergo an application process. And you'll find that on appliedsomatic.healing.com. And with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Maya for today's movement lesson. Thank you, Maya.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. So I'm quite excited for today's lesson. It's going to be around awakening the intelligence of the back body. And why I've chosen this topic is because I find that very often I become more aware of what's in front of me and I forget about what's behind me. And our somatic practice is all about increasing our awareness, our ability to remain present and to sense ourselves, not just inside ourselves, but also in relation to the environment that we are in. And I don't know if you know this about me, but my husband is he's trained in Native American tracking. So I'm also trained in Native American tracking. And so this is one of the things that we love to focus on, is to discover and enhance and refine the way we can perceive and sense. So I will be bringing some of that into today's session. So I invite you to create some kind of floor station. If you're not comfortable to lay on the floor, you can also lay on the bed, even though it's better to have some kind of firm surface. So if you can find a sitting position, also if you're going to be laying down, you can sit still on your chair if you want, or you can even stand up. We'll just do an initial little inquiry. So I invite you to simply become aware of yourself. Like, how do you sense yourself in this moment? Where is your attention? Is your attention more around you outside, maybe by the computer with my voice, or somewhere else? And what would it be like to simply shift your attention inside of yourself? And so one way of doing that is you can take the hands and just rub the thighs a little, rub the arms a little. So if you do that, you're sending signals to your brain so that you can feel yourself more clearly. So it's like a highway to go, oh yeah, I feel myself, I feel my body. Yeah, you're with me? And then you can find somewhere, either you place your hands somewhere in your body, you just rest them somewhere comfortably. It can be nice sometimes to close the loop of the palm, either on the chest or the thigh or the belly. And if you're comfortable, just close your eyes for a moment. And just perceive, where is your attention right now? Is it in front of you? Or for a moment, just sense in front of you. What do you perceive, like a half circle in front of your body? And from where in your system are you sensing that space? And then go ahead, and I invite you to shift your attention into that half moon behind you, that half circle. And just, oh, that space behind you. Like, what happens with you when you simply shift your attention into the back of you? Does your body start to lean more backward? Do you feel like any other shift in yourself? And then just dropping that awareness for a moment, returning with your attention inside of yourself. And with that, we're going to begin the lesson itself. So welcome to lie down on your practice station. If you want me to be able to see you, I can teach also to what you're doing, but then I need to be able to see what you're doing. And if you need to clarify the instruction, you can always glance over where Karusha is going to be doing the movements. So that can be lovely to have a visual to support the guidance that I will be providing by voice. All right, so just come to lie on your back and lengthen your arms and legs. And just become aware of what's present within you in this moment. So much of the somatic work we do is about coming into deeper relationship with oneself. It's developing pathways through which we can begin to sense more of ourselves, which in turn will grow our capacity for self-regulation, for resilience, and for discerning and navigating life in an embodied and informed way. So as you're resting here, if you feel that there's anything you can do to create more comfort for yourself, then please add some support, like maybe support under the knees or under the head. Make sure that you're warm enough. So the idea of that is that it's easier to learn when we're comfortable. So if there's something that you can shift or adjust to increase your comfort, that is great for your learning and well worth. So bring your attention into the back of yourself and get a sense of the contact points through the back of you. What parts of you are resting more clearly in relation to the support? How do you sense the weightedness of your pelvis? Is there more weight on the right or the left side of your pelvis? Is your pelvis tilted more towards the tailbone or towards the sacrum? How do you perceive the contact of the right and the left shoulder blade on the mat? And how do you sense the back of your head in relation to the support beneath you? Also become aware of how you have placed your arms. Notice if there's a side difference between the right and the left side. And then become aware of your midline. So from your neck downwards, get a sense of the shape of your spine. For the moment, especially through the back of your spine, the parts of you that are closer or closest to the support. Get a sense of your sacrum and your lower back. And also just bring some attention into your lower body, your legs, your heels, and your feet. And just scan the whole back of yourself for a moment. Noticing again, how are you meeting the support beneath you? And so to me, that relationship between the back body and support are very closely related. And so as you're bringing more awareness into the back of you, you feel the surface that you're resting on. Maybe for a moment you can entertain the sense that you're resting upon the extension of the earth. How is it to imagine or sense that you're resting on the earth, that the earth is coming up to meet you, to hold you, to support every part of your body? Does that change anything in the way that you're feeling or sensing yourself through the back of you? And then from here also include awareness of your breath. Just noticing how you're breathing in this moment. And just really sinking into the next exhale, feeling that letting go, the sinking towards the support, the meeting the support a little deeper on the exhalation. And then from here, we're going to begin the movement. So go ahead and bend your knees up, put your feet standing. Now, as you may know, if you've done somatic movements before, and if you haven't, I just want to mention very briefly that it's important that you remain comfortable. There should be no strain or end gain. If there is any increase in discomfort, then change something. Decrease the range of motion or the speed, or simply rest and visualize the movement. What's going to make this work effective for you is if you remain within the somatic principles, so moving slowly and with awareness, and looking at the quality of the movement rather than the range. So now get a sense again of your back body. How did the position or the relationship, the contact through the back of you onto the support change by simply bending the knees? And then from here, gently inhale into your abdomen, roll your pelvis forward. And then exhale, flattening your back. Now, how is the contact changing through the back of you in relation to the support? The simple movement of rolling the pelvis, breathing in, arching the back, exhaling, flattening the back. How much can you perceive in how that change translates through the back of you? And just notice, like, how do you sense yourself? Like, where is your predominant attention? Is your attention into the pelvic region? Or is it into your abdomen? Are you sensing more through muscle and skin? Or are you sensing your skeleton as well, moving? So if you haven't yet, I'd like to invite you to perceive the movement of your skeleton. So as you're rolling your pelvis, notice how that movement ripples up through your midline, through your spine. And get a sense of how much of you is involved in this movement. And if there's any way that you can even do less effort, apply less effort, and just do it in a way that feels yummy, that feels like it's truly for you. Now, what would you change? How would you modify the movement? Becoming aware of the pelvic bowl, the pelvis especially through the back of you, how the pelvis is connected to the spine through the sacrum, and how your neck and head are a part of your midline as you're rolling the pelvis, and just simply allowing this movement to ripple through all structures of yourself. All right. When you feel complete, just go ahead and lengthen one leg at a time by bringing one knee out to the side and just sliding your leg long, and then the other one. And as you return to rest, just give yourself a moment to just simply be and sense yourself. And the floor is an excellent companion in our lessons. So just see, how can you use the floor and the feedback from the floor to track how things are changing for you? How are you meeting the floor differently in places? Do you feel there are places that are in greater contact with the floor now after this very simple first movement? All right, so with legs long, go ahead and gently lengthen your right leg. You're sliding your right heel away from you and allow your left hip to hike up. And then release out of this, back to neutral. This is very small movements. And alternate now to the other side. Lengthen your left leg away from you, extending your left heel away from you. Noticing what's happening with the opposite side of your waist. So just alternating like this, lengthening your legs, and bring your attention into your bones, into your skeleton, especially around the center of your body. So how are you sensing the movement of so of course the leg is moving, the pelvis is responding. Now what is happening with your spine? How do you, is the spine curving from side to side as you're extending one leg? And what would you want to do with your upper body? Like, is there any way that you're sensing that that movement wants to translate into more parts of you? And if you do, then just allow those parts to flow with the rest of the movement. And see if you can adjust the movement and do it in such a way where it's like a gradual progression of the movement coming into it. It's not the start and then you hit the end wall of the range, but there is like a gradation in between. It's like getting to fill out that space. It's the quality of the movement. It's the progression, the evolution of coming into the movement and then coming out of the movement. And again, bringing this to a close when you feel content, like you have done enough. And when you return to rest, just letting yourself have a few moments of integration, of doing simply nothing. Trusting your soma, your mind body as one functional unit to simply integrate and file and connect things in a perfect way. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bend your right knee up, put your right foot standing. Again, get a sense of the back of you. Get a sense of the right side of your pelvis and the left side of your pelvis. And go ahead and ground your right foot into the floor and track your right knee forward and allow your right pelvis to shift over towards the left. Not as in lifting the pelvis, but just simply shifting the weight over towards the left. Now, how would you do that? How do you sense the right side lengthening as you're planting, as you're grounding the right foot into the floor and tracking that right knee forward? If you haven't tried this before, I really invite you to just try it. It's so rewarding to retrieve our ability to sense and move, to retrieve our freedom and our voluntary choice to be engaging with our muscles or simply letting them rest. That is the part of the goal of this, so that we are free to choose. We're not a slave under this involuntary, habitual, continuous contraction pattern. So as you're doing this movement, get a sense of how the weight is shifting through the back of you in relation to the floor. And how do you sense the movement through your midline, through your spine? And how far up along your midline do you notice that translation, that ripple of the movement of the pelvis? So maybe your head wants to go with the movement, like turning to the left, or maybe it wants to go in the opposite direction, to the right, or neither. So the beauty of this work is that there are so many possibilities in every moment. But the most important thing is that you remain with yourself. So the invitation is that you move in such a way where it feels like you are like with yourself. All right, and then complete this side, lengthen your leg when you're ready. And then just sense the right hip, the right waist. And compare it to the left side. Notice what may have changed for you. And the good news is that there are no right or wrong answers. We're not looking for a particular answer. We're simply invited to sense yourself and become aware what is there. Is your right side or your left side weighted differently in relation to the support beneath you? When you're ready, I invite you to continue with the second side. So go ahead and bend your left knee up, put your left foot on the floor. And now the beauty of the second side is that it may not be anything like the first side. So see if you can approach it with curiosity. It's like getting to know someone that you haven't known before. You're going to ask a lot more questions and be very interested to the responses than when you meet a friend who you've known many years. So continue the movement exploration in your own time by simply grounding the left foot into the floor, tracking the left knee forward, and notice how your left side responds. And it could be a really small movement. It doesn't have to be a big movement. Like Karusha, she's a movement goddess, so she moves very fluidly with large movements because she has that ability. But that doesn't mean that you have to move the way she moves. So you find out what works for you. And this movement is actually something that's really essential to all of us who walk on two legs. Because this is breaking down that element of when you walk and you swing one leg forward. So doing this movement will actually improve the way you walk. So honoring the range that's naturally available to you by turning the pelvis and simply just notice how the weight shifts over gradually from the left side of the pelvis into the right side. And maybe it could be helpful to imagine yourself like as if you were full of water, which of course we are, but not like a kind of water glass. But as you shift the weight over, the water would shift over to the right and it would be emptied out of the left side. And then another way of looking at that is sand shifting over. But it's all the same. And then see if there is something that you can change in the movement. Maybe you change the position of your foot, or you change what you're doing with your neck and head. And see if you can allow yourself to simply explore the range of the movement that's readily available to you. So one thing that we can practice within somatic movement is to come into deeper relationship with that which is naturally available to us. And so as we start to calibrate to the range or the core that is there, we start to also notice when we move past that point. So over time we can really solidify this knowing to not put ourselves into a position that creates pain or strain on whatever level. So when you're done, you just allow the pelvis to return into full contact of the mat again. Feel that weightedness and just let go of your leg, lengthening your leg. Now, how do you sense the left side of your pelvis weighted onto the floor? How do you sense your left waist and lower back? And then expand your awareness to include both sides. Again, specifically get a sense of how you're meeting the floor or the support through the back of you. Have you dropped your awareness more inside of yourself? And if you would shine the light of your awareness onto your skeleton, into your skeleton, what would you discover? what would you sense? The sense of your midline. And notice if you perceive your midline through, like, inside of your body, or through the back where the spine is meeting the supporting parts, where you're sensing it through the bodies of the vertebrae, through the front. And then get a sense of your legs. So these line the midline, the arms, and now I'm asking you to really tune into that connection between the midline, extending then into the cardinal lines of the legs. And then from here, go ahead and bend your knees up, put your feet standing. And very gently allow your right knee to float inside the space of your left leg while keeping your left leg somewhat vertical, just comfortably. It doesn't have to be rigid. And then alternating, it's like windshield wipers, except one will stay a little bit more up. But if you want to flick them over more to the side, you do so. Again, this is also a movement that's actually will enhance walking. So if you like walking or if you stand a lot, this and the previous movements are just golden. Now, as you do this movement, get a sense again of how the waist and lower back lengthens as the leg moves. And if you can track more components to the movement, then get a sense of how this movement translates through your skeleton, like pelvis shifting on the floor, the rotation that's happening through the spine. And does this movement involve your rib cage in any way? And is it possible to still honor the natural range available to you? Is it possible to resist the temptation to end gain and simply give yourself that what you need, that what your body is asking for? And when you're complete, just bring this to a close by perhaps bringing your feet a little closer together and then lengthening your legs. How do you sense yourself now? Whether you have been moving or you have been visualizing, what changed for you? Are there areas that have become more clear in your awareness? Attention is a very powerful thing. So from here, bend your knees up again, put your feet standing. We'll be working with a gentle pelvic lift. And so just come into your back body, get a sense of the back of your head and your shoulder blades. Get a sense of the contact through the back, so the rib cage and the lower back, and the pelvis itself. Gently arch your back, exhale, flatten, and then ground your feet into the floor to pick up your tailbone, your sacrum, and start to peel your lower spine off the floor. And then when you feel like it, you reverse the movement and lower the pelvis. So you want to put your feet, you might have to adjust your feet so they are about hip width apart. They are placed in a way that you can ground them to translate that stability through your feet, through your legs, to lift your pelvis. Now, the interesting thing here, of course, is how does the contact to the back change your back body? And how does this movement perhaps offer you new possibilities to attune to each part of your spine? How does the weight shift through the back of you as you're beginning to lift up your pelvis? There should be no strain in your neck or jaw. You can soften your jaw and your tongue. And just do this a couple more times. And last one. Just go as far as it feels comfortable, getting a sense of that contact, that exaggerated or intensified or clarified contact through some part of the spine, and then start to bring down again, reverse the movement, and place again each part of the spine onto the mat until the full weight of your pelvis and your spine is on the floor again, and just let it be like that. Keep your knees bent and just pause for a moment. And from here, we're going to transition straight into the last movement. So from here, just gently inhale, arch your back, rolling the pelvis forward, and exhale, flattening the back, turning the pelvis the other way. Now get a sense of, if you can use just minimal effort, how does this movement flow or resonate through your system? How much of you is involved in this movement? And just softening the shoulders and the head and the neck and the jaw and the eyes, as well as just allowing the weight of the pelvis to simply roll over the surface of the support. Softening the pelvic floor and feeling that connection all the way into your feet. So for a moment, shifting into X-ray vision, can you sense your skeleton moving? And maybe you can appreciate this, the articulation through your bones, the intelligence of it, the sophistication of it. And coming into a deeper contact with the support through the back of you again, softening any effort, perhaps decreasing the range of the movement a little bit. And just letting this go, straightening your legs, softening the lower back towards the floor. Get a sense of yourself. Notice the whole of you for a moment. Perhaps you can get a sense of how you're held up, supported by the surface that you're resting on, the extension of the earth. And paying attention to those connection points at the back of the head, the shoulder blades, the pelvis, and the heels. And with that, I invite you to come to lie on your side. Just roll onto your side. And then make your way up into a standing position. And I understand that standing can feel like very far away from laying down. So just go nice and slow. And come up into a standing position. Feeling your feet onto the support, onto the floor. And just check in with those points again. Heels, back of sacrum, shoulder blades, and back of head. With that, I invite you to simply see if you would move. Just let your back body move you. So maybe you move forward with your eyes open, but you lead from your back body. So how would you propel yourself forward from your back body? What would that feel like? And one way to go about that is to take small steps, to go slow. And so we've come to the end of the movement practice. Thank you for your attention. And thank you for letting me guide you. So whether you were, thank you so much, Karusha. So whether you were on the floor moving, or if you were sitting listening to the lesson and observing it, what happened in you? What was the shift? Like if you were observing it, like what's your felt sense of what just happened? Were you moved in some way? Like inside, was there a resonance of something that was telling you something? Maybe there was like a sense of recognition of something. And if you were moving on the floor, what did you learn? What did you discover? So these are some of the questions that in the program, after each of the lessons, we would be sharing as a group, going through the different experiences to teach us to learn from each other's experiences as examples of what our future students and clients could be experiencing. So, Kaylee, do we want to open up to questions or for comments?
Yes, thank you so much, Maya. What a beautiful lesson. And I've had the opportunity to do Maya's back body lesson before and just felt so amazing afterwards. So if you were able to participate, I hope you're feeling that. And we will be taking live and written questions from the chat today. So you're welcome to submit a question through the chat to me, Kaylee, your host, and I'll be sure that it gets to faculty. And to ask a live question, you can raise your Zoom hand by going to the menu at the bottom of your computer. You'll hit the React button and you'll see the option to raise your hand. And it looks like we have one question I'll just kick us off with here, which is someone's asking if they've taken your courses on Shift already, would they still benefit from taking this training, or is it the same material?
That is a great question. Well, the beauty of somatic movement is there are tons of applications, and it would not be a repeat if you have done courses with me and or Brian through the Shift Network. This will be a lot of new materials. And what is also particularly unique about this one-year program is that you will learn how to teach others, guide others, whereas the other courses were more structured around how to enhance your own health and well-being. So yeah, and also again, there are many components that have not been touched upon through any of the Shift courses. Perhaps the quantum biology unit is the one that you would recognize the most in, but that is a great one to get into the nitty-gritties of it. I need to hear that many times.
Great, thank you, Maya. And there's another question in the chat. Does somatic movement help to heal osteoporosis and rebuild bone?
Oh, that's a really Brian question. He actually he was about to design a whole course around how somatic movement will help exactly this, along with heart health. So yes, but he would be the one to get into that. Just as sort of general comment, I can say that whenever we start to calibrate ourselves somatically, and when we strengthen the self-healing mechanism, it's like our body is so intelligent. So all we need to do often is to create the conditions for our system to return to a state of health. But specifically in relation to osteoporosis, there are things like when you weight bear, there are things around the joints, there are things around, so there's a lot of more things that we could say around that, but I really believe that Brian would be the one to answer that the best way. So why don't you come to a Q&A and we can speak to you about that. I'd say whenever we have something that's like some kind of degeneration within our body, there are a lot of components to that. We can look at what is the core cause, physiologically, emotionally, spiritually, like the whole somatic psychology component. We can look at how are we navigating that in ourselves. We can look at if it's a physiological thing, it's like how can we enhance our ability to manage that, the symptoms of that or the risks of that. So there are a lot of different ways that we can go around that. But the applied osteopathic modality that's a part of this program, that unit, would be excellent to give more light around that, shed more light on that. So I also want to just say that if anybody who did the lesson wants to comment on how this was for you, you're welcome to do that as well. And I understand it's not always a given to unmute yourself and share. My hope was that this lesson, like I tried to keep it fairly simple, because to let the guiding principles be at the forefront. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about are the somatic principles. So it's not what we do, but it's how we do it. And it's how we then take that learning, the understanding of the practical application of the principles, not just onto our movement practice, but into everyday life. And especially the parts that are challenging, especially the times when life doesn't go the way we had thought it was going to go. So especially then to address stress or pain or trauma. So I really find that this work, in its simplicity, in its richness and sophistication, really offers us a practical tool towards building self-resilience, a sense of inner resourcefulness, and a sense of navigating life somatically, which to me is like, it's so big. What if you can learn how to shift your inner state and to know how to always return home into a sense where you feel at home in your body, you feel comfortable, you feel like yourself, and you feel at ease in yourself.
Thank you. And we have another really good question. Someone's asking, I currently have a really painful back. Can I only participate when I'm okay again, or adapt to that, to what I can do? And do you feel this would help speed the recovery along?
Yes, so it would be, of course, very interesting for me to know if you know what the cause of your back pain is. So that can be the answer would be a little bit different if it would be like a disc that's moved out of place, or if it's a tight muscle along, but the things normally are connected. So, so what will I say to that? I would say that definitely this course would most likely, I would be very surprised if it did not help you. Why do I say that? Because when we are in pain, so that's the body's way of saying something. That's valuable information, right? So we can find a way to figure out, why did that pain occur? And if we realize why it occurred, then we can also remedy it better. And so in terms of back pain, we can look at how to adjust, how to use micro movements to create movement. So if you're in pain, what happens is we start to just lock everything down. We start to move less. We don't want to move. Everything in movement is orienting around, is this going to cause more pain or not? So with this work, we start to shift from being oriented towards the pain and safeguarding against pain, more towards, okay, how can I create micro movements and create freedom within the range of where the pain is? And then gradually we can build that ability. And so it's about creating, so the more we can sense ourselves, the more we're going to be able to avoid to further injure ourselves or re-injure. And so also with the self-healing mechanism ignited, we're going to speed up the recovery. So I'll stop there, but there's a lot I could say about that particular topic.
Thank you. And we had just a share in the chat as well. My lower back has been aching after many days of snow shoveling. I can relate. After the practice, it feels so much better, warm, and flexible. Thank you so much.
Marvelous. And was there a raised hand as well, or was that covered in the chat?
Karusha, did you want to add something?
Yeah, that was my hand because I can say from my own direct experience in the 4 years I've been practicing with living somatics that I have had some very bad back spasms, but sticking with the principles and just lying there, visualizing, relaxing, doing micro movements, it always helps. So exactly what Maya explained, but I just wanted to say that from direct experience, yes, I've been able to participate in lessons when I've had an injury, and I have always benefited. And the relaxation and it really does accelerate the healing.
Yes, and one of the things, thank you so much for adding that. And one of the things that I'm really fond of in this program structure is that not only are you going to have great lectures and lessons with Brian, and you're going to have the integration with me where we're going to have discussions, but you'll also have pod meetings with our team. And so in that way, you get to have this personal relationship to someone, like they will track you and you can ask, personal questions to them in that setting, as well as the Facebook community group where me and Brian and the team are going to be answering questions. So we are certainly not like this kind of anonymous online learning style. We're pretty hands-on, and we're always happy to support you to see what's needed to unlock where you are in your learning process.
Thank you. And I want to acknowledge the time. So this event was scheduled for an hour. So if you need to leave, that's completely fine. And I just wanted to share the last question that we received, which was if this type of work can help with TBIs, post-concussion syndrome, and seizure disorders.
Yes. It depends on the case, I would say. It would depend. That's like a host of symptoms or diagnosis. So within those three categories, there can be a lot of variations. And the severity can also vary. So I would say it depends on. And largely speaking, I would say to support the system to process information and to learn to navigate, to process information in a way that's at your speed is always a good thing. So when you have a concussion, for example, you may have to, for some people, just starting to slow down and do less is going to be a massive, challenge. So for a person in that situation, having a somatic practice, learning how to feel the body, learning how to create a relationship between the need of the body, which is us, the soma, and to match it with the list of life the expectations we have of ourselves. So I would say to accurately answer that for a particular case, it would be helpful if you can send the maybe some little more context to the case to Kaylee, and or come to one of the Q&A so we can answer it more how it pertains to you.
Thank you, Maya. So that was all of our questions for today. So we'll go ahead and wrap up here. And I'm just going to drop the link in the chat again to the website for the year-long training program. It's appliedsomatic.healing.com. So again, I just invite you to listen, tune in, feel how you feel right now after that beautiful lesson. And if you decide you want to join us, we warmly invite you to apply at appliedsomatic.healing.com. And I just want to say thank you again to Maya for this beautiful lesson, to Karusha for joining us and being our model, and to all of you for taking the time to be with us today.
Mm-hmm. Marvelous. And I just want to say the last thing is I just realized I should clarify that the lesson I gave today, you'll be able to guide someone like that and much more through this lesson. So, and through the program. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much. We wish you a wonderful rest of your day or evening and hope to see you in the year-long program. Bye.